and welcome to another exciting moment of the Men Half Hour show. Like you know, we talk about everything that has to do with the boy child and, of course, the importance of the father in the boy's life. You know that boy child these days have actually gone astray, and we're trying to see how we can bring them back. So today on the show, we have someone very important. He is a father. He has been the chairman Nigerian Bar Association here in Calabar. And of course, the president, of course, here in, when it comes to Chamber of Commerce as well. He has also been the former chairman of the Niger Delta Development Commission, that's the NDDC. Now, you will permit me to introduce Senator Victor Ndoma Egba, OFRCONSAN. First of all, tell us about yourself. Who is Senator Victor Ndoma Egba?
I was born in Ikom on the 8th of March 1956, so that makes me 67.
Okay.
Went to primary school in Ikom, then went to Marinol College, the famous Marinol College in Okuku. Then Okuku was in Oboja local government before Yala local government was created. I did my school set and my higher school there. For a brief period, I went to government secondary school Ikom because of the Civil War. You know, but I started from Marinol, was in Ikom for about 2 years, and went back to Marinol when the Civil War ended. But after high school, I went to University of Lagos, graduated in 1977, and I was called to the Nigerian by 1978. So if you calculate, it is now 45 years ago. Was in private legal practice. I started off with Kano Agabi in Ogoja for 2 years, then relocated to Calabar in 1981, and I've been living in Calabar since. So essentially, I was born in Ikom in Central Senatorial District, grew up in Ogoja in the north, and settled in Calabar in the south.
Wow.
So I'm what you call a local boy. I'm totally homegrown and homemade.
Wow, that's a lot of experience, if you ask me, going around and ensuring that you know your people very well. All right, moving ahead, share with us your experience while growing up as a child.
I had parents that I will refer to as transitional parents. Transitional in the sense that they were amongst the first from my part of the world to receive Western education. I am probably the first of my generation. I said probably. The first of my generation from my part of the world to have an educated father and an educated mother. I refer to them as transitional because even though they had Western education, they were also pioneers. So they remained very traditional people. So they were in between tradition and Westernization. So even though they were educated, we didn't enjoy any special privileges. We still grew up in a normal compound setting, went to farm like any other person after school. My mother started off as a teacher, as a missionary teacher, because it was a Catholic mission that sent her to school in appreciation of her father giving them the land in Ikom where you have the initial Catholic institutions, because he was the chief. And they asked for one of his children to be brought up in the ways of the church. And because the girl child had no value in those days, they gave her. And ironically, she turned out to be the biggest beneficiary, because she became amongst one of the first 4 Ikom women to go to school. And they all became teachers. And then she now went into politics. When she was pregnant for me, she contested election as councillor. And won, and by 1960 she had been elected as chairman of Ikom County Council, comprising today's Ikom, Boki, and Etum. So she's probably the first female elected local government council in Nigeria. I say probably because the records may bear something different. My father, on the other hand, also started off as a teacher and then became a civil servant before going to read law. So he became the first practicing lawyer from our part of the world and became a High Court judge and one of the early Court of Appeal justices before he retired in 1993. You know, so I read law. I have a master's degree in law that I read for, I worked for, but I also have the LLD from the University of Calabar, which is honorary. I was in private legal practice for a long time before I was invited by Donald Duke to go to the Senate to represent Cross River Central. And I was in the Senate for 3 terms. My first term, I became the first chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs. That was the 5th Senate. In the 6th Senate, I became deputy leader of the Senate. And in the 7th Senate, I became leader of the Senate. You know, and I left the Senate in 2015.
Okay. Share with us your marital status. Now, when was it time going through school and struggle of life, trying to, get to where you are today? When was it you thought it was time for you to settle down?
When you meet your wife, you know. And
How do you know? How do you know? Do you have the butterflies?
Everything will just tell you that this is the person and this is time to settle down.
Okay.
Marriage is one of the biggest mysteries. Marriage and childbirth are some of the biggest mysteries because you grow up amongst women from childhood to a certain age. You are surrounded by neighborhood girls, you are surrounded by your classmates, you are surrounded by your schoolmates, then you meet a total stranger. And the chemistry is right and you click.
All right. Now, can you share with us a memorable part of you, the moment you shared with your father that you just can't forget?
Oh, several. I am told that I'm the one amongst his 10 children who look exactly like him, speak like him.
Oh,
and I was the first amongst his children to also choose his profession. And you know the law of physics, like poles repel, like poles attract. So we're always having our fisticuffs, you know, as father and son. But he was a great man in every way. As children, he let us be. We had freedom at home, but there were very clear parameters: don't lie, don't steal. Very clear moral boundaries. But within those boundaries, I mean, you were free to. He never, for instance, influenced what we became. He allowed you make your choices, you know. And like I said, even though he was educated, he was also a very traditional person. So he was somebody who fitted with his age mates in the village, drinking palm wine and going hunting, even as a justice of the Court of Appeal, and at the same time fitted in palaces of kings. You know, so he could mix. But I remember a particular incident. As a young lawyer, I appeared before him. You know, then the number of lawyers in Calabar wasn't this huge, and judges knew who was senior to who. And so he was calling late Dr. Aripo was in court that day. Of course, he started with Dr. Aripo mentioning a case, and he was going down, you know, until he got to my mate, Paul Orokoro, SAN. Mr. Orokoro mentioned your case. And then when it was my turn, I stood up. He said, counsel shouldn't presume that the court knows his name. I said, well, I'm sorry, my lord. My name is Victor Ndoma Egba, and Ndoma Egba is spelled. And he said, no, I can handle that. And I said, I'm not sure, my lord. So I went on spelling the name. But we were friends who were always fighting. You know, but he remained my idol. He remained my role model. And I really wish I had the kind of endowments that he had. He was a polyglot. So society has changed, values have changed. I give you a story. My father was in Biafra when I entered Merino. So it was his younger brother who became a paramount ruler and chairman of the State Traditional Council, Rulers Council, who sent me to school. And I remember when I relocated to Calabar, we had this big brief. I was still working with Kanu Agabi. And when we were paid, my share of the fees was 15,000. I was driving a Volkswagen Beetle. I put the boot of the Beetle is in the front of the car, if you know the Volkswagen very well. So I put the 15,000 in the car and drove to Ecom. It was a Saturday, and my uncle was in his office. So I stopped by his office, and I said, come and see something. So I opened the boot of the car and showed him the 15,000. He just said, close it, close it, close it. He jumped into the car and said, drive to your father's house. You know, and we got home. My stepmother was just coming. She was the matron of the hospital, and we're living in the hospital quarters. So she forgot something in the house and came and met my uncle and I there. And my uncle talked with her. And, you know, she just went in, removed her matron's uniform and tied wrapper. You know, when a woman is going for war, how she ties the wrapper and the headscarf. So she dressed as if we were going for war and said, where did you get this money from? I said, Mr. Gabi gave me. I said, where is he? He said, it's in Ogoja. So, okay, drive to Ogoja. For 15,000, I was already a lawyer. And we got to a door, and they saw the confidence with which I was driving. And they now said, okay, go back. And then what do you want to do with the money? My house in Ecom was from that 15,000 naira. So you could, even as a lawyer, you still answer to your father.
Yeah.
I mean, I read law not to practice law. I read law to teach law. I wanted to be a university teacher. I wanted to be an academic. But I remember in my second year, Kanu Agabi came visiting. Because when he was made a judge, he handed his practice to Kanu Agabi. So Kanu Agabi became like his first son. He came visiting and I was serving them at lunch. And Kanu asked me, Victor, how far have you gone with your studies? I said, second year. I just finished second year. He said, oh, so what do you plan to do? I said, I plan to go into academics. And he said, no. Your generation cannot afford such loans. You come out and practice law. It is our children who can choose what they want to do. We have no such choice. So I didn't answer because I was a bit upset. Now, when I finished Youth Corps, I was offered a job in the University of Jos. They were just starting the Faculty of Law, and the first dean happened to have been, I think he started the Faculty of Law in Unica, one Victor Ungo, a Cameroonian who made the first class in law in Nigeria. So Ungo was now in Unijos, and he wrote to me offering me a job. So on my way after Youth Corps, I stopped in Jos to see him, collected my letter of employment and the keys to my flat. And then I came home to tell my father that I had finished and I was going to teach. He said, no. You said you will work with Kanu Agabi. I said, I didn't say any such thing. I said, I never said any such thing. Kanu said I should practice with him, and I kept quiet. He said, when you keep quiet in law, what is the meaning?
Yes or no?
Say yes.
So it's a yes.
So you go to Kanu Agabi. That's how I ended. So the relationship then is totally different from what you have now. You referred everything to your father. You deferred to your father. He still had authority over you. You know, and they try to make you independent. But now I think the relationship is parents no longer ask. A student comes with an iPhone 15. The child of a level 8 or level 9 civil servant, and nobody will ask any questions. In those days, as you are leaving for school, your mother will check your box, and there you come with any item that is not yours. Hell will come down that day. But today is not the relation. It's not. I think parents, maybe because of the economic situation, or the loss of values have lost authority over their children, regrettably.
Now, some say that it's quite challenging trying to train a girl child, but more challenging while trying to raise a boy child. What do you think about this?
Well, between father and son, there's competition. Just like between daughter and mother, there's competition. A girl child's first idol, her first love, her first boyfriend is the father. You know, and that is why it is important that you develop that bond with your daughter. You know, because she begins to see her future partner in her father. She's looking for the father's qualities in the person who will be her husband. Just like we men, when we want to choose a wife, we are looking for our mothers in the woman. You know, is she like my mother? Does she cook like my mother? Does you know? So it's very, very important. So girls look up to. I have 2 daughters. I have a son and 2 daughters. Okay. My son is married. Of course, when a man marries, he follows the wife wherever she's going. So that one is gone. Occasionally, he remembers you. Hi, Dad. How are you? I said, I'm fine. You know, but it's the girls. Daddy, why are you looking like this? Are you okay? You haven't cut your hair. You know, you go and have a haircut. Daddy, this tie you are wearing is not. But when their son comes, it's for the both of you to drink poison, to drink alcohol, and, you know. But I have a good relationship with him. He's married, you know, he's doing his own stuff. But fortunately, we share certain interests. I mean, like, he used to be a footballer, but now he's moved into tennis, lawn tennis. I play tennis, so sometimes we go playing tennis together, you know. And he's also a lawyer, by the way.
Oh, so I could say
but he's not practicing, he's not in litigation. He works for a public organization.
Okay. All right. Now, would you say that the modern technology has actually made a boy child go astray? Do you think it has affected them so bad that we need to bring them back into the reality of life?
Well, technology has affected everybody, not just the boy child. It's affected parents, has affected the girl child. You know, I remember growing up, the biggest item of furniture we had in the house was the dining table. Because after the Civil War, my father, by the way, had many of us. You know, I used to tease him that he was a serial polygamist. He always had one wife at a time, but much later, he stuck to one woman and they were together for close to 50, 60 years. She wasn't Nigerian, she was West Indian. But after the Civil War, she went and gathered all of my father's children and brought us under one roof. So if you talk to Ndoma Egba, if you talk to Professor Ndoma Egba, or myself, or Roy, our notion of a stepmother, you know, the notion of a stepmother is one wicked woman with horns. Our own notion of a stepmother is that of an angel. You know, who just came to unite the family. And so the biggest item we had was the dining table, because during the dinner, she made sure that all of us were on the dining table. That's when she taught us manners, how to use knife and fork. If you see us eating now, not till this age, my younger brother is outside there. We just had lunch. We still pick. You would have dished into your own plate, but you are picking from your brother's plate. You know, so that was what she brought. But now back to the issue of technology. Then, as a family, you could chat, you could talk, you could tell stories, you could learn from the older ones. But now you are sitting next to me. Everybody is on the phone. You know, so that communication, that connection, is It's no longer there. My grand, one of my granddaughters is how old is she now? 4 years. But if you see her fiddle with a phone, she manipulates the phone like an adult. So we call her Ada Banex, after Banex Plaza in Abuja, where they repair phones and cell phones. So at that age they are already, and then the brother who is 2, as soon as he enters the house, the first thing he wants is a phone. So from that age they are just, so that the technology has affected us in positive ways and in negative ways.
So what do you think are those things we need to do to raise the boy child to become a responsible man and a father?
Well, the easiest lesson, the easiest way to teach your children is by example. I keep telling people that we take our character from our mothers, but we will take our habits from our fathers.
Okay.
If you reflect, especially the males amongst us, you are more like your mother inside you. But if your father was a smoker, you are likely to be a smoker. If your father drank, you are likely to drink. So we pick habits from our fathers and character from our mothers. So the easiest way to teach children is by your own example, your personal example, because they watch. Children are very, very inquisitive and sensitive beings. So they watch you, and every time they want to imitate if it's a girl, what the father does, if it's a boy, what the mother does. So the first is by example. Well, I love Nigerian artists.
Okay.
All of them, Whiskey, Davido, I love African music, Sukus, Congo music, and then I love Igbo music. Oliver the Cook, and now Flavor, and all of those people.
Let's share with us your embarrassing moment and then your best moments as well.
Embarrassing moments?
Yes.
We had just started in the law school in 1977. And the law school, then we had only one school in Lagos, Victoria Land in Lagos. And we had this auditorium, that was like a cinema hall. That was our lecture room. So I was right at the back. Dr. Graham Douglas was addressing us. And I was pressed.
Okay. Was it the number 1 or the number 2?
Which one is number 1 is the liquid. Number 2 is the solid.
Exactly.
It was number 1. So I was pressed. And I told Colonel Fadile, then he was a lieutenant, that look, I need to use the bathroom. He said, Victor, please, bear it, don't go. So I thought I could just sneak, since I was right at the top, I could sneak through the door on top. And Dr. Graham Douglas noticed me. And he had this big voice, because he was a huge man, like 6'7". So he said they should go and fetch me. So the security men came to the toilet. I was still peeing, and they said I should stop peeing and follow them.
How did you?
So here I was pleading with the security man, let me finish. He said, no, you must come. Then I got there. With my size, I was like a dot. How dare you go out when I'm addressing the class? I didn't like that kind of attention at all. I just wanted to pass through law school quietly and disappear. So what's your name? So I mentioned my name. He said, in the name of God, tell me that you are not related to that fine gentleman called Ndoma Egba. I just saw a small window to escape. I said, sir, unfortunately, he's my father. He said, so what is about the misfortune about him being? So that was, but I mean, the whole class, I had become, how do I, noticed.
Mm.
you know. But that was my biggest embarrassment. Now, my finest moments, there are many, many fine moments. In fact, every day that I wake up is a fine moment.
Now, if you're given a chance to change something in Nigeria, just one thing, what would that be?
Our values.
Why?
Every country that has succeeded because they have a set of values. You can't run a society or a country or a community where anything goes. You must have standard.
This is where I have to sign out for today's episode on Men's Half Hour. If there is one thing I have taken from his advice, he said, a child today is a parent tomorrow. No child actually begged the parents to come into this world. You made the decision to bring them into this world. So you must live according to what the Bible has said and train a child just the way you want the society to address you as a father. My name is Catherine Asuquo. See you next week. Bye for now.